Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com. And you wouldn't believe it, but I've got Perrin with me as well as my co-host. Perrin, how you doing out there?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. What?
Yeah, man.
I'm always here.
We'll always have you. Absolutely. You are. Yep. Good to be back behind the microphone once again. We're going to dive into it. Hopefully have a great podcast. And this is podcast number 62, episode number 62. So we're trucking right along. Someday, if we're not careful, we might just hit 100.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to do it by the end of the year. Maybe we can.
Ooh, wow.
Is there 40 weeks left in the year? No, we're way past that point. So
yeah, we'd have to really crank it out.
Maybe not.
Maybe we could just cut each episode in half and just leave people hanging. And they'd have to listen in, to the second one, so we can have twice as many episodes.
Crank up those page views. It's brilliant.
That's right. Why aren't we just doing 5-minute podcasts? Record an hour, cut it in 12.
That stuff is easy.
Make it a daily podcast. Now, we might be onto something there, actually.
There you go.
Get more sponsors. They pay more per download. Man. Anyways, this is how Perrin and I go. We come up with great business ideas on the fly here. So today we are going to talk about the income of our authority site, as well as the income from the Amazon physical product business. And I want to compare and contrast the two a little bit here because we've come to some interesting conclusions, I think. We've been working on the authority site now for about 10 months. And so we put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money invested into this project. And so we've done all that we can to make it successful. On the other hand, I've only put about 40 days since I listed the product until today. Essentially, the Amazon business has been up. And so when I look at the returns for both, this is where I've started to make some conclusions. And so we're going to dive right into that. This follows along with a recent blog post that I did where I revealed the income for both projects, broke down all the numbers. So if people want to check that out, they can go over to nichepursuits.com. But let's go ahead and dive right into it. As far as the authority site income itself for April, it brought in just over $900, $912.75. The majority of that being Kindle revenue, about $890 from Kindle revenue, about $22 from Adsense revenue. And so it's a decent revenue. As far as some positives, we've been focusing really on trying to build the email list. So we started April with about 625 email subscribers. And by the end of April, we had about 1,300 email subscribers. And so we a little more than doubled our email subscribers. And so that's one reason we're not having a lot of AdSense revenue is because, we're not trying to get clicks. We're trying to get opt-ins. And primarily those opt-ins have been driven through Thrive leads. We've just added a bunch of different opt-in forms and done some other things. And so that's a positive. We're seeing improved number of email subscribers. We launched one more book. And to be honest, the book started off kind of slow, but ended April on a really high note. And so going into May, we're almost midway through May already, and I can tell you that May is going to be probably a much bigger month than April. So that's a good thing, right?
Yep. Yeah. Those positive things I think are good, and some of them I was impressed with the results, I mean, at the end in the last couple of weeks, we were getting like 250, 300 emails a week. And, we're going to keep building that list. It's basically on autopilot right now. And a couple of the books are doing really well. And a couple of our books have sold thousands of copies. So, yeah. We had some big wins, and we definitely realized that. But this is where the scary Jaws music would come in.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's kind of a reality check. Here's the deal. I mean, we've been working on this site. We bought the domain July 2014, started building the site shortly after that. So it's been about 10 months. that we've been working on building the site, trying to generate traffic, writing Kindle ebooks, putting in a ton of time. I mean, this has been Perrin's number one project for those 10 months. So that gives you an idea. I've been putting a lot of my own time. We've hired a part-time author that's been producing content on that site and doing outreach and link building and social media, everything. So a ton of time and effort has been put into the site, but the traffic to the site is still sort of not growing at the pace we'd like to see it. It's been stuck at around somewhere between 200 and 300 unique visitors a day, which is a decent site, but for the amount of time and money that we put into this project, we're definitely not seeing the returns that I would like. And now is probably a good time to just address this issue, because there's been a lot of comments made about, well, are you looking at net profit? What are your actual costs on this site? And I mean, I just sort of mentioned that. I'm not going to go into, what Perrin's salary is, but some people forget that, Perrin, you are a full-time employee. I pay you a great salary. And so I have to look at, what's my cost to keep Perrin going on this project, because he's been putting at least 50% of his time into this project.
And much more at the beginning.
Correct. Then we got an author, a part-time person sort of up and running that's been doing some of your share of that. So overall, the expenses, just sort of back of the napkin, we're easily spending, with ebook covers, with editing, with tools that we're spending money on, the content, all of this, easily spending $3,000 to $4,000 a month on this site.
For sure. And that doesn't include your own time.
Correct.
At your level with the other businesses you're involved in, your time as far as dollars per hour is worth way more than probably you're paying myself or our part-time writer. So, and as we started to realize that this project just isn't picking up steam despite all the stuff we're trying, you were getting more and more involved. So the expenses on the back end increased, I think, because we were taking up more of your hours too.
Yeah. So looking at that, over the past, I just have a chart of the past 5 months, the earnings. And so over the past 5 months, our expenses have easily been $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Okay. Or whereas our revenue has been about $7,000 over that 5-month period. I've spent anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 total. And my revenue has been $7,000, so my net loss has been anywhere from $8,000 to $14,000 approximately over the past 5 months. So that's just being very realistic, and that's again not including my own time on this. And we're not seeing an increase in traffic. I'm all about buckling down and trying things different to try and make this a success. But there's a reason that we are now considering completely just winding down this project as far as putting in additional time and resources. One, it is because of all the expenses, but two, and even more so, it's because of the almost immediate success that we've seen from the Amazon physical product business. And so that's what I want to move into now, and we can compare the two and let you, the listener, decide, well, which business venture would you pursue if you had limited time and resources? So if I dive into the income from the Amazon FBA business, I launched my product for the very first time on Amazon on March 28th. And after just 30 days of selling that product, I had already made revenue of $4,400 in sales. So $4,400 worth of the product was sold in just 30 days. I shortly thereafter ran out of inventory, my first batch of 105 units. I did this on a whim. Perrin, you weren't even involved in this. I just sort of did it. You know what? In the evening, I'm going to write a couple of emails to some manufacturers. I'm going to get this product up and running. I didn't spend a lot of time, a few hours of my own time. I got this product up and listed. We didn't really strategize. I just sort of did it.
Yeah, almost reluctantly. We were just like, yeah. You were. You're like, as we've discussed in our previous podcast, I was 100% turned off by the idea of trying to, contact manufacturers and do all that. So, yeah, this was just kind of a side project for you, right?
Side project, almost on a whim. I was like, what the heck? Let's see if this can work. And so I did it. And I sold out of that first test batch of 105 units because I didn't want to invest tons of money in like 1,000 units. Just like, let's see if this sells. And if it does, we'll go from there. Well, it sold very, very well. I ran out of inventory in 40 days from listing my product. I even tried to raise prices, as I've discussed in our previous podcast, to slow down the sales. Well, didn't really slow it down too much. Overall, after 40 days and selling 105 units, my revenue was $6,040.95. So let's compare that very quickly. So in just over 30 days, I made $6,000 revenue, and I spent very little of my own time. If we compare that directly to our Authority Project site, in the past about 40 days, I made about $1,000 revenue and spent significant amounts. Well, you spent significant amounts of time and energy into that site. So I made almost in 40 days what I made in the past, well, really 10 months on our Authority site project. Let's also be realistic about costs, okay? So because that has been brought up quite a bit in the comments. So if I'm just losing piles of money on the Amazon physical product, well, it's not quite as attractive. But the reality is that my net profit actually is close to $1,000 on that $6,000 that I made. And it'll be significantly more on future batches because I won't do the super expensive shipping by air. I'll be ordering bigger batches, so my cost per product will be down. I mean, the reality is that I'll be making probably around 40 to 50% net profit. Net profit. That's after all expenses, after everything, on all future batches. I fully expect that.
Right. So even with that same relatively small batch of 100, if you had done things like we are doing them with these next batches that have already been ordered, with that same $6,000 something in revenue, the profit would have been closer to $3,000 with, the same exact sales, just not with the expedited freight and all the extra costs that come along with that.
Correct. Exactly. So I'd be looking at a net profit of $3,000 versus, clearly a net loss of at least $3,000 from the Authority project in the last 30 days. Over the life of the Authority site, the net loss is significantly more. I sort of said this, and I think I said it fairly well in the blog post. Put yourself in my position. Let's say you had these two opportunities, one in each hand. You're seeing all of this time and energy and very little trend upwards. You're not seeing this hockey stick growth of the Authority site. And then on the other hand, you have something that you didn't put very much time and effort into this Amazon FBA business, and you're already seeing net profit. And that doesn't even go into the huge potential that I'm thinking of down the road. Which one would you choose? The answer is pretty easy to me. We're going to be putting a ton of effort and energy and resources behind creating physical products to sell online. And so with that conclusion, we're going to be winding down the Authority site project, meaning we're not going to be writing as much content or any content perhaps in the next couple of months. We are going to stop producing new Kindle books. We have one in the works that we're going to finish up. That'll come out in the next month or so. And we're going to put a lot of, we're going to try to market that book and do the best that we can. But basically, we're going to let the site become passive in nature. It's going to collect its email addresses. It's going to make some money from AdSense. Our Kindle books are going to continue to sell. And as we have a little bit of time, we're going to send out email blasts to that email list to sell our own books and to sell additional products. But it's going to be a couple hours a month instead of, almost half your time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the gist is that it seems to be in a market that is just way, way, way harder than we thought. So, and I don't know if this is cool to talk about, but you have your Amazon FBA project that you started and is now going to become a major part of my business. I, in the meantime, started a niche site of my own in January, a brand new niche site, because a penny shaved had been slapped because I was using PBNs, which I'm never using again. And so I started a new niche site and did, obviously less work than this authority site has behind it. There's much less content. There are fewer links, etc. And that site's already beating our authority site in both traffic and on-site revenue. So we feel like the tactics that we know work for lots of familiar markets and lots of different types of sites just aren't working for this site. And when we think about the cost it would take to figure out what does work for that market, it's just totally baffling and very discouraging, especially because all the other stuff we're starting on the side seems to be working like we know things should work based on the tactics we use. And, it's just one of those things. It's I think way harder than we expected in that market.
Yeah, that is one of the frustrating things, is that I don't think we're doing anything wrong other than we picked a really difficult market, and we may have bitten off more than we can chew with this particular market. And so that's sort of a tough lesson to learn. One that I thought I had learned a long time ago is just, how critical market choice is and things like that. So
yeah. I think that's one of the major differences between the authority site and the market you moved into with Amazon FBA, is that it's a consumer-driven market, and the authority site had a lot of business-to-business competition. With the physical products that we're selling on Amazon, we can create a site very similar to the sites we've always created, and we're very confident we can get traffic. And even if we only get a couple hundred visitors, if we're selling our own product, those can be worth a lot more.
Yeah, and so I think it's worth pointing out that I'm not moving away from building sites and building authority sites per se. I'm just pivoting away from focusing tons of time and energy on one particular site that just is not panning out. I mean, yeah, I could buckle down. I'm all about, people doing their best in something. But at some point, it's a smarter decision to say no to something and say yes to something else. If I keep saying, yes, we're going to buckle down and focus on this authority site, sure, in maybe 12 months, we could turn it around and have something great. But I think we'd be missing out on a huge opportunity that's staring us in the face that, over the next 12 months, we could be way beyond what we could create on the authority site. So I'm not turning away from internet marketing and building sites. I'm just going to be building a site, which I very much am building a site in a different market. I've created a product. I know it sells like crazy on Amazon already. And so I've tested the market. There's people that want that buy it, no problem. So now I'm building a site so I can generate my own traffic, my own leads from my own site, and build that into an authority, not just for one product. I can already envision at least half a dozen products in my niche that will go very well on this site, that will sell very well on Amazon. I think it's pretty clear, the path that I should be taking at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And the other main benefit here is that it's a project that can fund itself. We're not dipping into the savings account to make sure it keeps growing. I would think it's very possible, based on the sales that we have seen from Amazon, people buying the physical product, that the profit can be there really, really quickly, and we can use that to grow and scale and let the profit or the project pay for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the most part, the comments to this decision have been quite positive. People are stating things like, glad to see that you're graduating from just creating information sites now to actually selling products. Wish I could find who that was so I could give a shout out to them. Ken doesn't have a last name. Ken says, this is what I've always done. He says, I've always had physical products, and then I create opt-ins and lead-ins to then sell my physical products. So he's always marketed his products online that way. Other people have said very similar things, that they're excited about Amazon FBA and selling physical products. There have been some undertones of some grumblings from people that think this is a poor decision. Time will tell. But some of the people that are making comments that are sort of insinuating that this is a bad decision, I think have a mindset that I have had for a long time, in just that, I mean, in order to have an online business, in order to have that passive income, you can't venture into physical products. That's just not what people trying to generate passive income do. They feel like I'm abandoning the model of only creating information. And how exciting is that? How exciting is that business model? You just type articles and people click on ads. That's unbelievable. I can't believe that you can do that. And I still get people when I tell friends or family, hey, this is what I do. A few years ago, I'd tell people, hey, I just write articles. I create information. I don't even have to create a product. I don't even have to do customer service. I don't have to talk to anybody. And they can't understand it. They're like, that's a business?
Yeah.
And yes, that can be a business. And I've lived off that for, a couple of years doing just that, little niche sites. Luckily, I moved my business into creating real products shortly after that. Of course, I've had Longtail Pro now for 4 years. And so I know the power of owning your own product. And so I think some people may be stuck on that same mindset that they just want to be an affiliate. They just want to be getting revenue from AdSense. They just want to write articles and see it go viral. And that's great. But you know how hard that is compared to, guess what? If you just have something unique, if you just have a product, people will talk about you just because you have a product. You don't have to do all the outreach. It's so much easier. So I don't know. Am I making sense there, Perrin?
No, you are. And I've got this comment from a couple readers now, like, why are you guys building or stopping niche sites? And it's getting frustrating. I mean, I love you guys, but it's getting frustrating to keep telling people that we're not going to stop building niche sites. We're just doing it in a different order, Mm-hmm. And if you want to build niche sites and just be an affiliate, or if you want to build sites and just collect money from AdSense, that's so awesome. I'm not content with $1,000 a month anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And certainly that's not sustainable for the type of business we are running. So when I'm building a site, or when we are thinking about new projects, we know from the get-go that we want to monetize in a way that can make us much more money than a $500 niche site, which is what something like a Penny Shaved started out as. So like, there are a lot of ways you can do that. You can sell your own products on Amazon. You can be an Amazon affiliate. You can have AdSense. You can create info products. You can have a membership or do premium coaching, whatever it is, but in general, businesses should have lots of traffic streams and lots of revenue streams if they're going to operate at a level that like supports employees. And so that's kind of what we're trying to build. We're just starting with the product. There will be a site. We will be targeting long tail keywords. We will, be growing an audience and that sort of thing. But it seems that the fastest way to get into the black is to sell a product on Amazon.
Niche sites is a great low barrier to entry, costs almost nothing, and is a great way to start for people that want to make a few $100s, maybe even a few $1,000s a month if you absolutely hit a home run with a few of your sites. But if you're trying to build a $10 million a year business or $1 million a year business, I just think you have to have your own products. You just have to. And it doesn't have to be a physical product. It could be a digital product. It could be software. But physical products can go a long way. I mean, one of the examples that we've talked about, I think, on the podcast, and I mentioned in my blog, is Squatty Potty on Shark Tank. They just came on and revealed that they're doing now $12 million a year, or that they will do $12 million this year. And several million of that is straight from Amazon. Okay. That's the kind of business that I want to build. That's what I'm trying to think bigger here. What's something that I can create that is going to be that $1, that $5, that $10 million a year type business? And, there's lots of examples of people doing just Amazon FBA, just selling their products on Amazon that are making over $100,000 a month. A few of those that I mentioned in my blog post: Brian Lead, that was on Chris Guthrie's podcast, Ryan Moran, Will Turnland, Dax Deegan, and then I just mentioned the Squatty Potty. There's thousands of other products on Amazon doing over $100,000 a month. Okay, Amazon is a huge marketplace. when I'm building this business, when I'm thinking about the physical products that I can now create, I'm not trying to box myself in just to Amazon. That's just a starting point. I want to then go and build my own site. I want to sell it on lots of other sites like eBay and Overstock and all those places. And heaven forbid, I might even consider, if I have a winner on my hands, trying to pitch the product to retail locations. I'm not opposed to flying out to Walmart headquarters and pitching them on a product.
Yeah.
I mean, heck yeah. So that's the mindset I'm taking here. The authority site just isn't, it's just not happening right now. Do I think it eventually could get to $1 million a year? Maybe. I don't know. But it's very hard with Kindle books. It's very hard with AdSense. And just with the returns I'm seeing right now, I think it's time for me to pivot if I want to build a bigger business.
Totally. And if you're out there listening and you have a niche site, don't scrap it. That's also a good starting point. I think it pays to mention that this was going to be my next step with A Penny Shaved. Way back when A Penny Shaved was still alive and kicking, it was doing 50,000 visitors a month and about $4,000 a month in affiliate income profit. And we had, around that time, we had Andrew Udarian on. We chatted, we had a good podcast. You can go and find it and listen to it. But after that, we were just kind of shooting the breeze, and he was looking at A Penny Shaved, and he was like, man, you've got to put a store on this. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. Based on the average conversion rate for a site with an e-commerce store with your traffic that I have seen, you could be pulling in $10,000 or $14,000 a month more than you are now with your existing traffic. And I've seen other people do that. Douglas Smythe from howtogrowmustache.com, he had a site that was doing about the same traffic as me, and he started selling artisan shaving soap on Amazon, and now he has more than doubled his revenue, So even if you have a niche site, this is one way to take whatever that niche site is and whatever market it is to a next level. And you can do that a bunch of different ways. But I don't want the readers to get bogged down in the idea that niche sites are the be-all, end-all. And once you have a niche site, the only way to make more income is to create more niche sites, because it's just absolutely not the case. You can expand in different ways, and you can get all kinds of different revenue. There's no one right answer. And the general point of this podcast and this decision is that, it's just good business to focus on what is working.
Absolutely. Great points and great examples. And so I will sort of mention something with the authority site is that, that was our plan with the authority site, was to build an audience, which we are slowly doing, and then to release our own products. So we always had this in our mind, but as we've dug into the site itself and learned about our market a little bit, we're still a little bit unsure of what our eventual product would be. We are doing Kindle books, and that is a product, and we're building a small business there. But the long-term plan always was to create some sort of product. We were thinking, some sort of digital information product, probably. But we're simply now seeing, as we've spent almost a year in this market, we've gotten to know our audience and sort of the different aspects that are involved with this site and this market. It's going to be really tough to come out with a product that can do really, really well very quickly. And so, again, that kind of goes back to maybe we just didn't pick the best market, but we're being honest with ourselves here and saying, you know what, it's time to pivot away from this particular idea and move on to something else.
Yeah, and hey, it hurts.
It does. Yeah.
This was not an easy thing to decide. It was not an easy thing to do. It's like we've been working with our writer for about a year now, and we had to tell her that we weren't able to renew our contract, which was a very tough thing to do. She's my friend. It's a bit of a hit to the ego. It's also frustrating from my point of view, being the project lead, to see this project flounder. At the same time, other ones are taking off between all of my colleagues and our own projects, our personal projects versus our other projects in the business. It's really tough to see something just struggle like that. So I don't want the readers to think that we're just doing it on a whim. This was not easy. It was not an easy decision. It was barely even easy to say out loud. It was tough. So Hope that comes across.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that obviously we've been cognizant of. I mean, every week we review the stats of the site and we see what's going well and what's not going well. And so it seemed like no matter what we try, I mean, we're still stagnant at this point, no matter what we do. So it's been a long time coming. We've tried, we've written books, we've promoted them. It's not bringing the returns that I think are possible with our combined effort and financial resources. And so we're going to, in turn, take those financial resources, take the expertise that you and I have, and we're going to plow that into a different project that is clearly showing some good returns already on Amazon. And so, I mean, that pretty much covers the meat of what I wanted to cover. I mean, there's probably some other comments that we could dive into, and certainly a lot of other nuances. But, I mean, in a nutshell, we're already seeing more net profit from the Amazon business when I compare it directly to the authority site. I just don't have the time and energy to do both. And so we're shifting over to creating physical products.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that as entrepreneurs, it's just way more fun to work on profitable businesses, There's only so much you can take mentally trying to haul a drowning project out of the water. I mean, it's so much more fun to log into Amazon Seller Central and see those numbers going up so fast, It's just way, way, way more motivating. And we've talked a lot about the financial motivation for doing this, but there really is a lot of emotional motivation, at least for me, and I'm sure for you, Spencer. I mean, you seem more fired up than anybody, but there's definitely a lot of emotional motivation for me to move on to a profitable project. It's just so much more fun.
Absolutely. And I get fired up when I think about the potential. I mean, I almost feel like I've been missing out for years. For some reason, I always had this mindset that, well, I can't create physical products. I can't create a real business that actually ships something to somebody. I don't want to package something, I don't want to store something in my garage and pack it and ship it to somebody. And, I just want to be the guy that creates information and makes money from that. But I've had a strong mindset shift over the last really couple of years. And now just more recently in the last 6 months, as I've seen others have this huge success selling their own products, to finally kind of doing things that I've wanted to do all along, to be honest. I've always been a very big idea guy. I actually have an old notebook that I have been writing down business ideas, and usually they're physical product ideas, because this is before I knew anything about online marketing. Over 10 years ago, I was writing down ideas of how I could improve products. And so maybe it's time that I dust off that old notebook, actually start creating some of these products, and start seeing if I have some winners there.
Yeah, a cell phone that smells good. I know you're not going to get that reference, Spencer, but somebody from Parks and Recreation.
Gotcha. But yeah, so there's lots of things that make this business exciting about me. It's opened up a whole other world of possibilities that I've kind of been hindering my natural instinct to create ideas, my natural instinct to brainstorm, and to come up with unique products. I've always been doing that. Now I feel like I have an outlet. I see the possibility to scale immensely.
Yeah, and
I mean, the ability to create a $10 million a year business, while is maybe not likely very soon, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. Others are doing it. There's very real businesses that are creating physical products and selling them online.
Yeah, for sure. And the good thing about doing it now is that you can get around all the stuff that maybe stopped you from selling physical products in the past. So there are so many different services and systems that you can tap into so that you don't have to ever touch the product. You can still do it in your pajamas. You can still do it from home. You don't have to socialize with anybody. You can still be a hermit if you choose to. It's just a really easy time to do it. And there are a lot of people that do this really, really well. Perry Belcher, who is someone we saw speak a lot at the Traffic and Conversion Summit, that guy has made a killing selling so many different physical products. And if you look at the digital marketer funnels for their sites, like makeup tutorials or Survival Life, there are physical products in almost every single one of their funnels. So they're a really great way to either acquire customers or to seriously boost profits in a way that's, we haven't done yet.
Glad you brought up that example of Digital Marketer and all of their businesses, because we went to Traffic and Conversion Summit, and so we had an inside look at some of their businesses. And you're right, all of their funnels led to a product at some point. Right? Some of those products were digital products, like Digital Marketer itself. I mean, they sell all sorts of tutorials and membership programs and training programs for thousands of dollars. And, we pulled the trigger on the biggest one, Traffic and Conversion Summit itself, right? Right. All of their funnels lead to a big product. And that includes Survival Life, where they're selling actual knives, where they're selling, Perry Belcher had a suit company. I think it was Hong Kong Tailors, a physical.
Yep, they just acquired that.
Yeah, I mean, they are doing digital marketing the right way. And so I feel kind of guilty that it's taken me this many years to do something outside of Longtail Pro. I've had a funnel that leads into Longtail Pro and, has a $97 product with monthly recurring revenue, and it's a great business, and I've seen tremendous growth, and I have a whole team of employees that work on just Longtail Pro. It's about time that I create similar funnels in other spaces. Okay, so I guess the difference is that I'm now thinking with the product in mind first. I used to sort of think, well, I'm going to build an audience, I'm going to build this authority site, and once I have a good audience, I'm going to sell them a product.
I can just feel Gail Breton grinning right now, because we talk about this exact concept endlessly. Like, he has Authority Hacker, obviously, and then his big one is Health Ambition, but he was thinking about starting some new site in some new market. He didn't know. And I was trying to get him to divulge his model and stuff, and basically what we ended up at over several conversations is whatever it is, he's going to start it with a product first, because it's just so much easier to grow a business if you have profit from day one instead of waiting for SEO or whatever. I think it's the way a lot of people do it. And if you look at a business like Survival Life, they have multiple physical products. So they have that little match lighter, they have the credit card knife, and then they lead to the big expensive knife that they like to sell a lot of. It's $100 or something, and they've sold just millions of them. I think their anecdote at Traffic and Conversion Summit was that it was the most confiscated knife by the TSA or something in 2014. Right. I mean, they're selling digital products too, of course. They're selling a membership that includes a big digital library of like survival guides and that sort of thing. But a major part of the revenue comes from physical products, and that's also how they acquire customers. So they're not just writing information over there. They are selling stuff.
Absolutely. And that was the point that I was going to make that you mentioned there right at the end, is that they can acquire customers, So because they have the product in mind first, they build this whole funnel to get people to this particular product. So even if they don't have any traffic, and this is something that Ryan Deiss says, you don't have a traffic problem, you have now I'm forgetting the final, you have a funnel problem or a conversion problem. Essentially, you don't have to have a site whatsoever. You can have just a page and it leads to a product. But if you can buy traffic cheap enough, to get people to buy your product, or go through some funnel to buy your product, you've got a profitable business. So I've actually been thinking about this over the past week or so. People listening in are kind of hearing a blog post marinating as we go right here. It will be something along the lines of create a product first, traffic second. Okay. Right. Rather than the other way around, which is unfortunately how I've done it with my niche sites and even this authority site. Is I've always just tried to rank in Google first, and then, hey, yeah, if I get lots of email subscribers and have lots of traffic, then maybe someday I'll think about creating a great product. I'm so thankful that I created Longtail Pro almost first. I mean, I was blogging for about a year, but then, 4 years ago, I created Longtail Pro, and that has made all the difference in the world in my business. So I strongly recommend, or at least for people to consider out there, how should I go about creating a business? create a product first, whether that's software, whether that's digital, whether that's training, or a physical product. Create the product first and then figure out how to get traffic to that. And there's a lot into deciding what product to create. You definitely want to do market research and make sure that you can sell your product. You just don't want to create some crazy idea that nobody's going to buy. But if you create the product first, you can then buy traffic. You can then create a whole funnel. And who cares if you ever rank in Google if you have a great funnel that's either coming from Amazon or you're buying traffic from Facebook? If you have a product to sell, you can really step up your game very quickly.
Sure, yeah. And it's a very quick way to reinvest. If the first month you can spend $500 on traffic, and because you have a product, you double it, then the next month you can invest $1,000 and double that. And then obviously by the end of the year, you are pretty much rolling in it, and you've got a really good kind of cash machine going. So it's a good way to do things. We're still learning. We're going to be trying some techniques. I kind of want to give a shout out to the blog I've been reading. I like to do that sometimes, but it's a Fat Stack's blog. He doesn't have a product, but he has a really cool model where it's basically non-SEO dependent. He buys traffic and reinvests like really, really heavily. So it's a cool model. It's a good way to grow much, much quicker.
Absolutely. So overall, that's sort of the train of thought that Perrin and I have been having. I'm looking at this business right now. I have one product that I know is a winner. I'm getting samples and expect to honestly have 3 or 4 or maybe half a dozen products up in the next, by the end of summer. In the next 3 to 4 months. I plan to grow this business quickly. Once I have that half a dozen products up, there's a lot that I can do with paid traffic and, as we mentioned, with our site to scale the business. So to put it frankly, I'm quite excited about this business. I think there's a lot that I can do. Maybe in future podcasts, we'll try to tone down our excitement and over enthusiasm. I know people are probably listening in like, oh, come on, get real, guys.
Yeah.
Talking about $10 million businesses. Well, I think it's important to talk about big goals, and maybe they're crazy goals, but having something to shoot for, I think is important. Everybody's different. Not everybody should go and create a physical product. I'm not trying to say that. But for us in our business, we're simply discussing the decision we've made to move away from this one particular authority site and those particular Kindle books because it's stagnant. We're not seeing the growth. And we're now going to be focusing our time and energy onto something that is showing growth, and I see a lot of potential to scale. That's it. Pretty much plain and simple, the purpose of the podcast. So hopefully you found some gems, some words of wisdom there. I don't know. But anything else you wanted to cover, Perrin?
No, if you need a good synopsis of the podcast, just go listen to that song, Know When to Hold 'Em, Know When to Fold 'Em. And I think you'll pretty much have it. But in the comments, let us know what you think. I would really like to hear from readers who are considering their own products and how we're going to be moving into those, especially people who already have niche sites, because the overlap of those two things is really important to a lot of our readers. So if that's you, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely do love hearing back from you guys in the comments or whether you're shooting us an email. We love the feedback. We love the discussion. It's always good to figure out what's working in our business and perhaps discuss what could work a little bit better in your business. So I appreciate you listening in once again, and best of luck in your business. Thanks a lot.